Three black helicopters just arrived outside the White House and were locked by missiles. Although the pilot released the interference bullet in time, he still could not get rid of the fate of being hit. After circling in the air for a few laps, he fell asleep. This is the White House in the United States, a place known as the safest place in the world. However, the next second he was attacked. Half an hour ago, a man was in a panic. The first cleaning truck came to the White House. He took a look at the time, and there were 18 seconds left before he quickly left the scene. After a while, there was a loud noise, and the cleaning truck exploded violently. The entire White House was in a sea of fire. It's all over the place. The terrorists who had been prepared had also taken the opportunity to take action. In less than 30 seconds, they first killed the security guards on the corridor. Then they occupied the armory. After getting the weapons and guns, they took the elevator to the castle in the air. The guards took no precautions and beat them up. Soon they took control of the castle. Then they quickly dispersed and cleaned up the scenery outside the White House. In less than a minute, the White House, which is said to be the safest in the world, was completely destroyed by the terrorists. Soon the news spread to the Pentagon. Vice President Dutton Air Force No. 1 went into the air in an emergency and was in charge of the operation. At the same time, the military also sent 3 helicopters to the rescue. However, as soon as they entered the White House, they were attacked by heavy weapons. There was no choice but to take the president to the underground fortress. But then the accident happened again. Special Forces Captain Martin suddenly changed his mind and shot all the bodyguards around the president. It turned out that he was the one who made this terrorist attack. Not long ago, the Pentagon received information that Iran had nuclear bombs, so he sent a secret team to investigate. His son Kevin died in action. For this reason, Martin has always held a grudge against Zixing and wants the president to pay the price. But unfortunately, this scene was just seen by Mike. Half an hour ago, he took his daughter to visit the White House. I didn't expect to be involved in this war. He used firepower to suppress Martin and successfully rescued the president. Just when they walked out of the door, terrorists were found in the corridor. The two sides randomly launched a fierce gunfight. Faced with such a strong firepower output, the two did not have a chance to fight back. Taking the opportunity, they fought and retreated all the way to the elevator. This was the only way to escape. After a negotiation, the two decided to go to the president's apartment first and then make plans. The terrorists were also not idle. After taking over the underground fortress, they began to search and crack the White House missile system. It is expected to take 30 minutes. The penthouse is finally unable to sit still. He took the initiative to contact the White House. When he learned that Martin was behind the scenes, everyone on the scene was stunned. Martin didn't talk nonsense and directly opened the door to meet Zixing. He asked the U.S. government to immediately prepare $400 million and a Boeing C-17 parked on Route 19. If any snipers are found within a 10-kilometer radius, 61 hostages and cabinet officials will all be buried. After saying that, he hung up the phone. The president finally came to his room after a lot of struggling. Through satellite phone calls, they finally got in touch with the penthouse. Xiaomei told Mike that there was a secret passage in the White House underground fortress that could escape. She must rush here as soon as possible with the president. Speaking of which, the terrorists also came in. Fortunately, Mike was quick-witted and shot someone first. Another terrorist building began to flash. The two sides randomly launched a fierce gunfight. Finally, with the help of the president, the gang was successfully subdued. After getting out of trouble, the two returned to the underground fortress again. And with the help of Xiaomei, they successfully found the underground entrance. But I didn't expect the terrorists to be prepared and set up a trap at the door in advance. At the same time, their whereabouts were also discovered. When they reacted, they thought it was an accident. The terrorists had already blocked their way. What should I do? In order to survive, I have to fight. But the reality is cruel. The two were suppressed by fire all the way. They were about to be captured. In the chaos, they opened another door. I didn't expect there to be an underground garage in the White House. It was too late to hesitate. The two rushed into the car and rushed out of the underground garage. Mike was going to knock on the door. But Hunan, the White House, was specially treated. The car couldn't have hit it. In hesitation, the terrorist car team chased up again. Driving Jatlin, he was crazy about the two of them. It's no wonder he's the president's exclusive driver. The bullet can't even get through. I'm afraid this glass is made in China. The door is closed, but it can't be passed. What can I do? At the last moment, the president saw the tanks outside the White House, so he ordered the two to act. The tank troops directly opened a gap in Hunan. It's a shot against the White House. It's powerful, but the terrorists are in good shape. They didn't dare to show weakness. They started to shoot back with rockets. I didn't expect it to go straight back. When I saw the quality, I really smiled, seeing that there was no hope for rescue. At this moment, the president suddenly remembered the weapon box in the back seat. A rocket was taken out of it. Under the guidance of Mike, the door was directly opened. Now they just have to go around again. You can escape. However, at this time, the terrorists kidnapped Mike's daughter and threatened her with their lives. In hesitation, a missile came out of the hole. The car was hit by misfortune. After a series of rolling, he rushed into the pool. Because Martin wanted to live, he gave the two a chance. After coming up from the pool, Mike used a gun to kill the president on purpose. When the terrorists didn't pay attention, he threw a grenade at them. Under the cover of the explosion, the two quickly hid in the house. This action also completely enraged the terrorists. The gun was a flash. The bullet hit the oil can. With a loud noise, the whole room was in a sea of fire. Because it was not clear whether the president was still alive, Vice President Lin Wei swore an emergency oath to take over as the new president of the United States. As the so-called Starlight took over the three fires, when the emergency was sent out, the three-legged troops took action against the White House. The three black helicopters wanted to use high-rise buildings to avoid tracking, but I didn't expect the terrorists to be so high. Through traffic surveillance, they found their movements. So he quickly ordered a target gun and anti-aircraft missiles to be deployed on the roof of the White House. Here, Mike, who escaped death, quickly contacted the five-legged building. When he learned that the president had been removed from office, he was about to take action against the White House. Mike was worried that this action would completely infuriate the terrorists and kill the hostages, including his own daughter. So he left the gun to the president and sent one person to the rescue. The three black helicopters were locked by missiles as soon as they arrived outside the White House. Although the pilots released the interference bullets in time, they still couldn't get rid of the fate of being shot at. After circling in the air for several laps, they fell to the lawn. The second black helicopter went around the other side of the building. Because there were too many hostages in it, they didn't dare to act rashly. After the third black helicopter hit a few bandits on the roof, it was hit by another terrorist with a missile. It was almost the same as the second helicopter. In the end, it collided with the iconic fountain in the White House. There was only one helicopter left. However, it was locked by missiles again. At a critical moment, Mike arrived and shot the gun. He thought the danger was over. Unexpectedly, when the helicopter was about to slide down, a bandit with no stone climbed up again. He carried the missile and shot it directly into the soul. The helicopter was immediately destroyed. The crew on board were all alive. The operation was also a complete failure. What's worse, the terrorists had already cracked the missile system in the United States and activated one of the missiles. When the reaction came, it was thought to be an accident. The missile was already in the air. The target was Air Force One. The vice president's ass had not yet been heated and retired directly. The situation was getting worse, but the country could not stay calm. According to U.S. law, the president and the vice president will be transported to a new U.S. president by the Senate. But I didn't expect that the first thing the Senate did was to attack the White House. Although some people questioned, he still insisted on his own decision. After receiving the order, the three Mothers fighter jets, full of ammunition, took off. They will be here in 10 minutes. The White House has no patience to catch the president. They caught Mike's daughter and forced her to show up. The president took the initiative to stand up to save the little girl. Then he was taken to the office. Martin took out a suitcase. It was actually a nuclear warhead launcher. That was his real purpose. He wanted to launch a nuclear strike on Iran to avenge his son. But to open the box, you have to have the president's blood type and heartbeat. As for the password, he had already got it. After a fight, Martin took the gun and aimed at the little girl. Although the president sympathized a little, he did not compromise. At this moment, the White House alarm suddenly rang. Mike deliberately set fire to the stone to create chaos. He grabbed a large number of Martin's men and shot them one by one in the corridor. The situation was out of control. The terrorists also started to retreat. Martin shot his men directly. The president took the opportunity to stab Martin with a steel pen, but he did not expect that Martin's subordinates were not only fine, but also opened the box of the launcher. After solving the president, he quickly entered the password he got in advance. At the same time, all 24 missiles on the nuclear submarine were activated. When Martin entered the coordinates and was ready to confirm, Mike drove